This is an interesting one. I hadn't really thought too much about it, but he wants to know: is there a way the Chiefs can reinvent themselves in a way that makes them harder to beat year after year? Eric Bieniemy laughed about teams catching up to them, but I don't think that's an absurd question. Connor, do you think they're kind of growing stale or anything, or what's your take on this?
I already, well, my when I read this, I was like, huh, that's interesting because I think I was going to write my article this week kind of about this and the fact that they kind of already are. They just stepped on their feet too much um in the Chargers game to really like show the fruits of the labor. And the fact that the run game will be the way that they can reinvent themselves. And the run game will be I would hope would be supported by maybe a Josh Gordon. We'll talk about him later, being a bigger threat as the second wide receiver. But we'll have to see on that one. If they paired the run game with that, then I think that would be the way they would reinvent themselves. But the Chiefs actually were moving the ball the best they have against a Chargers defense than the last few years. The Chargers had always been the team that kind of gave the Chiefs the most trouble in the division, at least on the defensive side of the ball. And we saw some of Mahomes' worst games against the Chargers. I wouldn't say that really was the case on Sunday. It's just they had so many turnovers to start the game. And then, of course, Mahomes threw the interception at the end of the game that it kind of soured the whole taste about the offense for the game. But they were still moving the ball really well. They had over 30 first downs. They actually had over 9 expected points added on offense, which is a good outing. It's over a touchdown, just off positive plays. So the offense was moving, and it was a large part because Clyde was getting chunk runs. Clyde or Daryl. Daryl had a few nice runs too when they were handing it off to him. And that's because of the revamped O-line, Clyde looking good, barring the fumble. But I think that is a way they will have to lean on if teams are giving them these looks at like the Chargers are with the 2 high safeties, light boxes. They're just going to have to hand it off to Clyde a bit more or come up with ways to take advantage of those light boxes if teams are going to double both Hill and Kelsey. So I think that's a work in progress, but we saw early signs of them doing that. We'll just see if they do more.
Yeah, and people bring up like the uh offense stalling against Baltimore or whatever down the stretch. I'm like, it was just weird. Like they had the interception and then the fumble. Who knows? Like if the Chiefs win those games, people don't really care about the offense stalling or whatever. It's one of those things where I think they've been moving the ball really well. They just haven't played a complete game yet,
On
which
offense,
is
yeah.
also scary because once they get that together, it's going to be a lot more fun. And I think that teams haven't caught up to them because the Chiefs are still trying to like catch up to themselves.
One thing on that though is I don't think we've seen a Chiefs offense like string together weeks of complete games other than the 2019 playoffs and the 2018 season. They've been really struggling with consistency the past few years. They've had blow up games for sure, but it seems week to week you can go, oh, well, this week it was a lot of really terrible conversions on third down, or this week it was poor in the red zone. Last year they were the 16th best offense in the red zone. That's just, you don't think that they would be that bad at that with Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill. So in this year, it wasn't really getting, it's not much better, I think, right now. I think they're 14th. So I think they do need to work on that, and hopefully a better offensive line that gets pushed will help with that. But we haven't seen the fruits of that labor too much yet. So I think working on consistency and making sure they are scheming up ways to take advantage of teams that play like the Chargers do, which they did, but the turnovers soured it. I think that's the key way they need to reinvent themselves, and I'm cautiously optimistic they will.